Hello everybody, welcome. We hope that you're having a really good night. Please like and share. We have an interesting night ahead of us. We have some special guests also.
Yes.
So
when we told September is going to be special, so we're doing some, interesting things as we continue to share with you guys.
yeah.
And tonight we have some special guests, surprise guests joining us. Just pray for us. We're praying that technology works with us. Technology is going to work in Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
Yes.
So like and share it. Let's take a few minutes and do the necessary.
And as usual, we hope you guys, good night, ladies, as you're coming on. We hope you're keeping safe wherever you are.
Yes.
Again, in TNT, we see our numbers climbing. We had 2 more deaths again today.
Yeah.
And we're not by any means trying to scare you. We're just saying be safe.
Yes.
Do what you have to do. If you know you're at risk, protect yourself. And once you can, you just try to stay at home. We're still adjusting, so just bear with us a little bit. That's good?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
So, good night. I see Camille, I see Glenda, Renee, good night. Welcome to Muddy Puddles.
Yes.
Good night, Sia. We hope you guys are having a good time, a good evening, and have had a good day.
Good. So we wanted to share. We're giving you
I thought you remember
a few.
to share,
Yes.
I'm very
But
bad
he
with
never
this.
remembers
No,
to
I
share.
don't.
So.
I just do the stuff. I just do the work. Okay. Right. So again, we want to encourage you guys to ensure that you interact with us. Good night, Renee.
Yes.
Ask your questions. Make your
Please.
comments. We just want to share with you, and we want you to share with us. We are in this process together.
Yes.
So we don't do it on our own. We are not the experts. Whatever our trainings are, we believe that we are learning as you are learning as well.
Yep.
And God is depositing in us
Yes.
as He deposits in you. God is still no respecter of persons, and we praise God for that.
Couple more.
Just about 2 more persons. I think we can start. You finished sharing? Because I have
Not yet.
one more device to share on.
Right, you're so sure.
Yes. So tonight, let me just do the intro.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tonight we're going to be hi Sister Elizabeth, Wandel, good night. Tonight we're going to be actually extending our discussion from last week, where we were looking at dating versus courtship. And we were trying to help
courting in marriage.
Yes. We always want to make sure we don't leave out anybody in terms of relationships, but in terms of romantic relationships.
Yeah.
And sometimes it extends to friendships. But tonight, we actually are going to be looking at a very interesting and very current situation.
That's right.
But one that can happen, without planning, and sometimes one that you actually plan for. And that is dating in a distant context, both in marriage and in non-marital relationships. All right, so we want you guys who are out there to share with us. Like we said, we're going to have some special people coming on tonight, so I'm excited about that.
Just tell us if you can hear us clearly.
Yes, please let us know if you have any background noises. We want to know that you're hearing us clearly. So let's get started. It's a good time for us to get started.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
So, long distance relationships.
What is that?
That sometimes, somebody may say fortunately or unfortunately, the person that you have an interest in, the person who you may appreciate. Good night. The person who you see potential in a relationship may live in another place, may live in another island. In fact, in Trinidad and Tobago, because they're separate islands, that can easily happen.
It happens a lot.
Where the person you love may be in Trinidad or in Tobago, based on where you are.
Yes.
I don't know if it happens a lot in Antigua and Barbuda.
No.
Or
Not so much. I'm sorry.
St. Kitts and Nevis.
Maybe.
Maybe, we don't know. Maybe the Kittitians might be able to tell us. And so what happens is that this person might be in America, the person might be in London. You may have gone to camp. When I went to camp, I said I had a girlfriend from camp and so forth. And I won't tell you that story there. I've told my wife already. And the person might be watching too. And a few of our pastors have actually gotten married with persons they met at camp. But of course, they went to different islands. Yeah. So that's our story, is that, and you have heard it, we met previously, but my wife didn't remember me.
He was not on my radar.
I think it was the other way around.
Well, it was mutual.
And she was a teacher, or worked in the system as a counselor. And I was a teacher, and it so happened that I saw her, that she does remember me. And I saw her many years after. And it was when I was being installed as pastor at the Montgomery Moravian Church in 2009, fresh out of college. Had my assignment. My parents came down. My mom said, I was sitting next to a really lovely Antiguan girl, and we got delayed, and that delay caused me to meet Billy, and I used Facebook. I used the technology, and I added her, and she accepted me, and well, the rest is history.
Still being made.
We connected on Facebook. I said maybe there's a possibility something was happening. I could tell that she saw something in me, so I said, maybe we should try something. And I visited, and I kind of said after the visit, I think I want to try something.
That's one of the key points you're just kind of glossing over. We're going to come to that you visited.
Right.
You see, the truth is, from the very beginning, as he's saying, our relationship was long distance.
Yeah.
We met in Tobago.
Yes.
And we actually met just for 20 minutes.
Oh, less than that.
Less than that, because I had already grabbed my bag and I was moving on because I was on my way to Trinidad. And that was until about a month or so after when you sent the invite on Facebook.
Yes.
And when I think it was interesting because the first time he invited me down to Tobago, I mean, although you're an adult, you're still a kind of sheltered, kind of raised Christian adult. That was a risk. So, I mean, I don't remember who it was I told, but my mommy and my sister, that this guy invited me down to Tobago. I remember thinking to myself, me follow man now. So, I mean, I'm an adult, so I packed my bags it was an Easter. It was an Easter, yes. Because the first time I saw a goat race and a crab race.
Yes, I remember taking it.
Yes, and I came. Yes. And it was quite interesting because I had never really done anything like that before. And you're talking about taking risks, buying a whole plane ticket, because you didn't even pay for my ticket. You know that, right? You paid for my ticket?
Oh, but I took care of the accommodation. All
right, he didn't pay for my ticket.
Everything.
He invited me to a whole country. And I had to buy my own plane ticket.
I
You didn't pay for my ticket. I buy my ticket. So I had to buy my ticket, walking behind a some man that I didn't need.
Well, by the way, when I saw, I can't quite remember, so don't quote me on this. When I saw she would pay for a ticket, firstly, be willing to come, be willing to invest and pay for a ticket, I said, okay, this might be something.
It was an interesting experience.
By the way, I paid for all my tickets to go to Antigua.
Well, you are the man. You should be paying. Yeah. But listen, and this is what we're talking about. The interesting dynamics.
Here, Linda, Rev paid for the woman ticket. I paid for tickets after that.
And interestingly enough, after we actually became serious in a couple, because I used to travel every year to the US for vacation, and I would just pass to Tobago and spend a few days either to or from the US, which is kind of cheaper too, because it was cheaper to come to Trinidad and go to America than to go straight from Antigua to America. That's interesting, eh? Very interesting. But yes, that's how we made it. But there was
something. Luan said something.
Luan said,
Sister Billy, loved us have you doing that kind of stuff.
Lou, I know
It's
we call
true,
that overlove. Overlove, have you buying tickets?
But let me tell you, what you said there is so important.
Yes.
Because if you're going to do an overseas relationship, it can't be irrational either.
Yes.
And we there's some warning signs there.
Yes.
Just be careful. You can't just jump and okay, good.
We're just looking to get our guest on.
We're hoping to get our guest on.
So in the mirror.
Yes, so start the request. Oh, not on the laptop. Let me try and send this request to
so
our
let me continue while I try to get the people on. Okay, so the interesting thing is when it comes to overseas relationships, and we talk about marriage as well, there are many reasons why a relationship, a serious relationship, courtship, dating, or even marriage could be long distance. In marriage, we know there are a lot of persons who are studying and have to separate. We know there's some who have jobs. I have a friend, a colleague, who lives in one island and her husband lives in another island, and he's away more than he is at home with her and the children. And it's difficult. And we have some people who may, for family reasons, who may not have been living at home, may go back and may not be able to have their spouse accompany them right away.
Yes.
So definitely there are different reasons why a relationship could be long distance. And then we talk about ours, where we were dating, we were courting, and ours just was because we and so we could not really get together at that point. And then you also have situations where especially in the US, I'm not sure how much is happening here in the Caribbean, but if you know of situations like that, you could share with us. People are actually opting to have distant relationships because for them it's a lot more manageable. It's a lot more it's more doable than to actually have a relationship where you are in the same locale, same location.
Yes.
But definitely, there's some things that are very important, and we call it the pillars. If you're going to have a successful relationship at all, you need these things. But distance adds another layer.
That's right.
That can become either helpful or harmful to a relationship. 4 points, just to start, try to get our guests on. Bear with us, we're working on it. If you're going to have a successful long-distance relationship, there are 4 things you want to suggest you must have. Others, yes, but these are the key things. There must be love.
Yes.
And built into love is the aspect of attraction. You're not going to have a relationship with somebody long distance that you don't love. It's going to be very, very difficult. And then in addition to that, there has to be trust. Oh boy. So we're going to see this one coming out.
I'm trying to trust this technology here.
So we definitely have to have trust. And trust is the pillar, an important pillar in any relationship, but in long distance because of the geographical space, because of the inability to have that intimacy, that in terms of proximity, and because you have a life going on where the other person is not so much in a part of it. Trust must be important because one thing that happens a lot is that jealousy can step in.
Yes.
And people can think, oh, you're not calling me, but you're spending time with this person. You know we're not together, and these things can happen. So love, trust, then there has to be commitment. And that comes very closely to trust, very close, right, to trust. So there must be commitment. It must be the idea that, listen, you and I have decided to make this move, have this long distance relationship, and so we are going to commit to each other, commit to the process.
Yes.
Cindy's saying love, trust, maturity, and the finance. Cindy, they have finance, but thank you. You're very correct. And we were just joking about that, but it's very important. So we're gonna look at that finance. But there's another one, and that is purpose. Let me say this right off the bat. It is not wise for you to have a long distance relationship indefinitely.
Right.
That's not wise. And so there has to be some clear purpose, some clear aim, some clear goal as to where, some clear destination.
That's right.
About where this relationship is going. And Cindy, thank you. You must have money. Now, if I want to, like I want to be in a relationship with Nevin, and we were in our relationship, you can just approve it. We're getting our guys on. Are they on? We're just going to give us woohoo. Okay, you see adding coming on. Okay, yeah. So until they come on, if you're going to have a relationship that is distant, long distance, not distant, because there's a difference between distant and long distance.
Yes, that's right.
There has to be money. And the good thing is, both Neville and I were working people.
Yeah.
I was a teacher. I had a couple of streams of income, one. And so it was easy for me to buy my ticket.
Yes.
That the man didn't buy. Well, we can't argue on Facebook.
We're not arguing. I'm just saying, at that time, the pastor's salary was poor. I will even tell you. I will even tell the world.
It was an investment. It was an investment.
Yeah.
And definitely, there has to be, again, that's where commitment comes in as well. So definitely, there is that need for finances. So we were able to purchase our tickets to visit each other and to do other things.
Yes.
One of the things that Kevin is asking, yes, we are seeing you guys. Welcome. Okay, I'm going to just shut up so Nevin can introduce the people.
That's right. So tonight we have special guests from Costa Rica here.
Oh, yes.
So we can see. Yeah. We have special guests tonight. And Reverend Kevin Sentil and Mrs. Sentil is here with us tonight, and we welcome you. Kevin is a pastor in the Moravian Church in the Antigua Conference. He is pastor in Lebanon and Newfield of the non-Moravian churches, and he has been doing so for a few years now. And his wife, of course. There's a very good feedback. I don't know if it's the volume on your end. Reverend Sentil. Check and see if the volume on your end, the feedback. Right. And his wife joined him about 2 years ago, Kevin?
Yeah, 2 years.
Yes, so he has been married for 2 years. And
somebody say maybe to mute your mic except when they're speaking.
Can you mute your mic for now?
We'll see.
Good. It actually stopped. I'm still hearing it. So I don't know if it's okay. Right. And this was after 2 years of long distance relationship. To be quite honest, I would not have heard of somebody having a long distance relationship for such a long time. And at the time, Mr. Sentil doesn't know this. He told me about you very early. This is before college. And I said, bro, we can manage 4 years not seeing this woman and what have you. Yes, and let me tell you, when I heard you were staying together and getting married, I said that's really awesome. So we know you guys have a wonderful experience together, and thank you for accepting. And tell us your story.
Well, good night, everybody. Thank you for having us. Our story is quite a long story, so we have to kind of try to summarize it. 7 years is quite a long time.
Yeah.
Quite a long time, but the best way to describe it is divine intervention, really. So we met at a friend's birthday party, and it's a party that I didn't really want to go to because I was supposed to go with my girlfriend, and she couldn't come. So I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't go. And my mother was actually the person that said, maybe you should go and socialize. It'd be good for you. And she took me to the party. She dragged me out of the house and took me to the party. And that night we had so much fun, just mingling and interacting. The interesting thing about the night was that we played this game called Trust. And we were in a team of 3. So it was myself, Kevin, and another guy. And during this game, we were supposed to be blindfolded. one at each point in time, and it was my turn to be blindfolded, and they were supposed to lead me. So they were given instructions, and I ended up falling in the bush while blindfolded. And Kevin was the one that picked me up after I fell.
Mm.
So that was, a very memorable night for us. We had lost contact for like 2 years after that. And I ended up going to university where he was already a student. And we regained contact through that experience. And then shortly after, I got the opportunity to go to Cuba.
Okay, what I'd like to add to that is, for me, meeting Chanel actually is preceded by the fact that I prayed for her before I met her. So I said, God, this is I want a godly woman, I want a wife. I don't want to be a single person. I want a partner. I want somebody to complement the ministry and, just my life experience. And I remember telling God, God, she doesn't have to be that pretty. She just has to be godly, and the beauty will shine forth eventually. So I always tell my wife, I got more than what I prayed for because she's a beautiful woman.
Yes.
So I was always satisfied with that. As it relates now to the meeting and the bonding, what I would say was paramount for us is we started first and foremost on very, very Christian principles. So I remember we the first time we agreed to spend time together. So I saw her, I admired her, we exchanged our information, and the first time I would have invited her to spend time together, I remember, we had a conversation, and I said, before we get any closer, let's decide to sit down, go through the Bible together, pray together, talk about what we want together, and see if we really have something here. So I would tell anybody, if you really want to have something right, something good, you need to start right.
Yeah.
You need to start right. So from the get-go, the foundation of our courtship was on a Christian principle. In fact, our first, can we call it a date? Our first date was a visit to Montego Church, and I still have that picture. I still have that picture with us there. We went to Montego Church, and then we hung out for a while. So our relationship was founded on Christianity, on our faith, and it was our faith experience is truly what knit us close together, so that when it was time for her to travel, we already had that connection and understanding that you're the person I want to be with. So this is just another test of faith. I didn't always feel like that, but that was the guiding principle.
Yes. I'm hoping that we can sort out the sound.
Maybe when we're talking, you can mute your mic, guys, so that it limits the feedback.
And those who are listening will help us to tell us if it's coming through well. So we want to help those who are watching, because there's some people who may have found themselves in a situation where they're in a relationship with somebody who lives in a different island, right? Or because of the pandemic, because the borders in Trinidad are still closed, there are people who left Trinidad thinking that they could come back easily, but they have been out since March.
Yes. I know of marriages like that too, where the spouse got locked out of the country and still have not been able to come back in.
Still having feedback issues.
Not even sure what's causing that.
Let us try something else. What should we try?
And in fact, people, we're gonna keep going until we get something sorted out.
I'm not sure this might work. This won't work.
Okay. Well, you go ahead talking until.
Let me disconnect this. Yeah, go ahead.
No. Carry on. I was saying perhaps they could try to get. Hello?
Are you hearing us?
Yeah, much better.
Okay. I am hoping it will be clear from now on. Yes, so the people, as a result of the pandemic, who have found themselves in overseas relationships they did not foresee or plan for. And life sometimes happens in a way that you end up studying. So a spouse could leave for study, and then you have to continue that marriage or relationship in an overseas context. Yes. And we also are seeing now a situation where you could be in the same country, and because of the pandemic, you can't see the person probably as often.
Yeah.
You can't go to some places that you used to go. You may not even have much contact. When the pandemic hit, you did not have contact with other people. So you could be in an, it's not overseas, but you're in a relationship.
A lockdown love situation.
That's right. That demands the effort that an overseas relationship might have. So one of the things we want to say is that if you're going to handle it, there's some pillars. Tell us if you agree.
Yeah, we mentioned them. I don't know if you guys heard before you came on, but we talked about love, trust, commitment, and purpose. I don't know if you want to pick one or two and just share on that. And while you're doing that, just help people understand, how do you know when you're ready for a long-term, long-distance relationship?
Let me answer that last part. I don't think anybody's really truly ready for a long distance relationship. A lot of it has to do with trusting the process that you're about to embark on. And that comes from your faith in God first and foremost. So I don't think it's something that you can say, okay, I'm ready to do this.
Okay.
Trust is an important factor, not only in the person that you're in the relationship with, but you have to trust God to hold it together. Because the reality is, as human beings and in a romantic relationship, you want to be in contact with that person. You want to be close. You want to interact with that person. And it doesn't necessarily mean physically, as in intimately, but the conversations tend to be nicer when you can see the face,
That's right.
when you can hold a hand, have a hug. And if you're going to be apart, then you're going to feel some sense of disconnect in a way. But you won't necessarily understand it completely, but we're talking about trusting, and that is trusting the person enough that they would be solely dedicated to you.
So that's the commitment.
And that God would keep their mind focused on you and you alone within the parameters of the relationship, a romantic relationship. So trust is definitely an important pillar in any long distance relationship. I don't think it could ever work without trust.
That's right.
Well, we have that, but what about...
Okay, so I was just going to add, you spoke about love, you spoke about trust, you spoke about commitment and readiness for long distance. And purpose. I think for me, love is at the foundation of the rest of those pillars, because the idea that I am giving myself, the idea that I am sacrificing, I'm submitting, I'm yielding personal, selfish comfort for the comfort of the unit. That was one of my undergirding principles for the relationship. And just practically speaking, one thing that I hold fast to today is that inconvenience is never a good enough reason to leave a relationship. If there was a fundamental problem, if we had an irreconcilable difference, but just any inconvenience is not an excuse, because I always ask myself, what happens if one day I'm maimed? Yeah.
That is so good. I have to stop you. Inconvenience is not a reason to end a relationship. Really powerful. I really like that. And in fact, some people end marriages because of inconvenience, and end relationship because of inconvenience. But if you really see potential in a marriage or relationship, you can fight through and get through some inconvenience. Really good. Continue.
Right. So I would always ask myself, what happens if one day I'm maimed, I'm burnt, I'm injured, I'm no longer whom I was physically or emotionally. I would want her to stay with me. And likewise, what happened to her? What happens? Let's say one of us becomes ill. I wouldn't want my partner to leave me because it's not convenient to be with me. To me, that was not what love is. So for me, giving up on the relationship because of the distance was never an option because it was an inconvenience. It never qualified as an irreconcilable difference between us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really good. I'm going to try our best to get through the feedback issues. So we are suggesting a few things. How do you have successful overseas relationships, and even pandemic relationships? I'm suggesting some things. One,
Because somebody actually mentioned the point of communication. Whoever wants to say something.
No, well, I was actually numbering one, as you said one, But for me, well, maintaining a good long distance relationship, can I just share full disclosure? So your partner can't be a secret. Your friends need to know your partner. Your family needs to know them, and you are accountable to your community.
yes.
So at any given time, my mother had the right to ask, "How is Chanel?" If they see me talking to somebody else, so how is Chanel doing? It keeps you focused. Immersing your romantic relationship in all other aspects of your life.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be a secret.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Really good. So we're going to suggest a few practical things in addition to that. Use technology.
Do they have a choice though? Especially now, there's no choice. But then, let me give a little bit, I'm always bringing the wild stuff. So, you're in a relationship. Now, we know godly relationships, have a standard. They're supposed to have a standard. But then there's that need for intimacy. You like to touch, you want to hold hands. We're not promoting sex before marriage. So we're clear on that. But then you have some people who may not be Christians, who may not be so developed in their faith. Do you suggest things like what's that sexting and camera display? Let's just be real. This thing happens. Camera displays or sending nude pictures of yourself to each other in long distance context, relationship context. Because you have to use the technology. Should we use it in that way too?
Well, our relationship, actually, interesting factor was all we had was internet. So that was basically, I was only able to email and he emailed me back.
Back
We
in the
had
old
a
days.
few emojis, so it was just smiley face and thumbs up. That was it. There was no means of sending photos or any videos or anything like that. I say that to say that the whole idea of sexting and that it's dangerous because it sets a bad precedent for the relationship in that becomes the focus. That becomes your, how should I put it, a feeding instrument in the relationship, because that will be something that you look forward to. And then, by extension, you introduce more sin into the relationship and more complications, because what happens when that's not enough for you?
That's right.
Then you're going to look to be satisfied in other ways, and escalates over time. It would escalate over time. It wouldn't just be a picture. It would turn into a video. What happens when the video gets out there? You know, what happens when you then turn to be promiscuous, looking for other means of satisfaction? It's a whole cycle of sin that would come from that. So I personally would disregard it.
Yeah. Good, really good advice. So the good thing about it is not back in the old days when you were dating overseas. Now you have WhatsApp, you have Telegram, you have Instagram, you have Twitter, you probably have too many things down. But you can video chat. There's so much more that we can do now. And so relationships can actually be authentic and fulfilling because of the technology. So use the technology. The other thing we suggest is talk about everything. Share your heart with each other. Communication. I think Sia mentioned that. Talk about the present and the future plans. Yes? Explore everything. What do you say?
Absolutely. Absolutely with present and future plans, and plan together, talk about how you're going to build your future together, work on projects together. A couple months into our relationship, we were looking at each other's homework and everything.
Yeah, good.
I think another important thing would be one of those pillars that you mentioned, purpose. What's the purpose of the relationship? And it's to understand that from the beginning. Because a lot of times when you don't understand the purpose, then it just becomes aimless. So I find, like, when I speak to a lot of people now, their aim is to get married, and what then after? The relationship has to have more purpose than to get married. You understand? Because to get married is one moment, but then to be married and stay married, that's a longer time. That's a longer process. So, you know, we truly need to have open communication, yes, but about what is the purpose of the relationship.
Yes. The other thing we suggest is be patient. Be patient. By that I mean, don't feel overly hurried to get to the next stage.
Or for anything.
Or for anything.
Don't overly hurry to get to the next stage, to see each other, to, you know, like you said, next to move into marriage, to do big things together. Allow it to grow naturally and blossom as it needs without having it take too long.
Right. So patience doesn't mean you're hanging. No, patience doesn't mean you're hanging out for 20 years. Or for 10 years. I would even go 10 years. Right? We couldn't continue our relationship for more than 2 years, which is what we did.
I could have. I hear what you're saying, but for me, and I guess because I was more mature, I had gone to a place, like I said last week, I wanted to get married at 21. And when I realized I had passed 21, 25, 27, I'm like, not that bad after all. So I was at the place where I was so happy and comfortable and so still as a single woman, building my life, moving on. I used to tell people all the time, I wasn't one of those women who was saying, oh God, give me a man, I need a man. I wasn't like that. As a matter of fact, when I met him, I realized things were getting serious. Like, oh my gosh, no God. I was feeling like myself. I was in my element. Man, come and take me out from the place, you know. But the reality is, long-term dating overseas, we've been mentioning finances. Eventually, the finances will build up. Eventually, you would need more in terms of the time together, the physical touch and those sort of things. And that's why we have as one of the points as well down the line. There has to be an end result, a goal, a purpose with this. It should not just be dating forever and forever and forever.
Yeah. Purpose. And then mention the purpose. There has to be a purpose behind it. This may sound like the others, but I wrote down both parties must take it seriously. I think you mentioned it, Kevin, that people around you should know that you're actually in a relationship. Because what some people do is that they have a overseas relationship, but they have the local relationship too.
They have the part-time thing, yes.
So it's really bad. And you're pulling in somebody into something that you have not demonstrated you're serious enough about. But please don't engage in that sharing. It is either you're exclusive, this is the person that you're with, or there is none. But take it serious. It's a real relationship. It is not a fake one. It is not a made-up one. Overseas relationships, distance relationships are real relationships. What do you say?
Absolutely, absolutely. As real as any other. As real as any other. And from the get-go, it has the advantage of showing the person you're willing to invest. You're willing to invest for the long haul. So the person knows that, you're not trying to waste their time. It has its pros in that the person can see that you're serious and that you're committed to it. So absolutely, it's real, it's legitimate, and it's a legitimate way of courtship.
Yeah. And we also said, be creative.
I mean,
without being risky or ungodly or
unholy. I think one of the things I remember, well, I've been constantly a bit more creative with some of these things. I'm more practical. On special occasions like Valentine's and birthdays, he would connect with my friends at home. I don't know how to get the money to them. You ever pay them?
Yes.
And they would buy.
And I have good friends with you.
Good. So they would buy whatever gifts or little tokens and deliver it to me. And I mean, I normally was not expecting it. I'm like, oh, what is this from? This is nothing. I'm not nothing. Oh, how you get this people to send this to me? But he organized this thing. You know, doesn't do that for me. I ever did that? I confess, I'm not that kind. But, I have my strengths. But he was very creative with that. My creativity was buying a ticket and coming with you are.
We're going to end with you guys now. What last things would you suggest to? What last things would you suggest?
Last thing that I would suggest to anyone in a long distance relationship, is to have a timeline. When you realize that you're serious, have a timeline with when you expect to be reuniting, when you expect to be roughly married, and how your futures can be intertwined together. The likely end of a long distance relationship means that somebody is going to have to relocate. And it means finding employment opportunities, finding lodging opportunities for the couple together. And the groundwork for that needs to be laid before the couple is settled in the new station, in the new location. So it's important that the couple has a plan and they begin to act on that plan and put measures in place for the arrival of their spouse.
Yeah. Thank you. We appreciate you coming on. We had some technical issues, but we hope that people got the message. And God bless you. God bless your marriage. Take your time with children. Don't let nobody force you and rush you into anything. Trust me. Enjoy this time together without the little ones yet. But when they come, they'll add a different flavor and joy to your life. So God bless you, Rev and Dr. Senthil, and thanks for participating.
Yes, stay tuned.
Thank you.
God bless you too. Thanks for having us.
God bless you. Right. Yeah. So that's our first guest.
Yes. We don't work out the technical things.
This is the first time we're bringing somebody on, so I think the quality maybe the kind of headphone that I use for this may not be the best thing to use.
But they
But
definitely
they were very
worked.
clear,
Yes.
and I don't think we were as clear. So sorry, I think that may have affected persons too. But sorry
Yeah.
about that. Yeah,
But I think they brought a really great depth to the whole
yes,
discussion
that's right.
because they're young people as well. They went through studies. Both of them went through times of
Yeah,
study.
one in Cuba, one in Jamaica.
Yes, and at those times they're changing, they're evolving, they're growing. But even though they were miles apart, they were growing and evolving as individuals, but still together.
Yes,
And so they are another testimony. And Sia mentioned earlier that she and her husband also had an overseas relationship.
yes,
And she was saying communication was so vital for them.
yes.
So everywhere you look, there are examples of how relationships can grow and thrive and survive, even though they are affected by distance.
Yeah.
Because the distance doesn't necessarily mean that you are disconnected.
That's right.
Yeah.
We want to end off our time. We still have a few minutes.
Yes.
One of the problems maybe challenges is that as a result of the pandemic, you can't do the things you used to do. Um, let's say you're in a relationship, the person's were courting or what have you. It has changed things.
Yes, you can't go for dinner.
Right.
You can't go
Or
to the
because of the
movies.
pandemic, the person you normally visit regularly, you can't do so because you live in
Yes.
Trinidad or you live in Tobago, that kind of thing.
Yes.
So what do we suggest to persons like that?
Yes.
The pandemic has affected your courtship, has
Yes.
affected your ability to enjoy each other's time and space with the things that you used to do. What do we suggest?
Well, the first thing is that we're using this in the pandemic times also. We talk about physical distancing and social distancing. In this context, we're saying to you, even though you may be physically distant, don't be emotionally or socially distant from that person.
Yeah.
So again, we go back to what we've been saying all the time. Like, yes, the borders are closed. So there are things that you can do and you should do. We're just reinforcing this to ensure that while you're physically distant and you can't help that right now, you can still build intimacy and closeness. But here's the thing. It has to be a mutual agreement. It can't be that he and I in this relationship,
Right.
and I'm
And he's
saying,
trying
let's
and
do everything to make this work. And he's like, oh gosh, I can't knock up with that
Right.
because it's too much. And they have some men. I mean, I dated somebody like that, and I remember I started with the starved back in the day. Oh, I don't like email. I don't like social media. I'm like, dude,
This
and
was
it was distant too. And I'm like, so how am I supposed to come? Telephone, no phone bill, hi. I put a bill. All right, but we could do other things. Just email. I could send us the email. I can, and so it has to be a mutually agreed upon decision where you say, okay, we are going to find ways to be socially connected, emotionally connected, and build that intimacy even while we're physically separated.
Oh boy, we used to kill Skype.
Yes.
I mean, hours and hours on Skype, hours and hours.
Yes. The
Hours
phone bill will be high
it
too.
would be early in the morning.
Call.
She's getting ready for work. I'm getting ready to do something. And with Skype, how you do, honey? How was it? She used to work a job at the rehabilitation center. That would be late in the night, and I would call. Sometimes I say I would stay on with her.
You nearly lose me there. Where they used to fall asleep and on late shift. Man, dead asleep.
Oh boy, but she had mercy on me because God know I was sleepy. And there are a couple of times that I stayed up with her late in the night, and sometimes I yawned through it, and she yawned, and I said, "You stayed up."
She's saying, "Yes, Skype." These are the things that, and the people now will have their own technological stories to tell.
And the advances are so much now.
Yes, but the point is, use what you have. You don't have an excuse. And you know what is so important? We made the point last week that you don't want to make sex the pillar upon which you build a relationship. If you can build your relationship on real intimacy, which is mental, emotional, spiritual connection, then the sex will be just a topping off.
So maybe pandemic has exposed your relationship
and what it's made of.
And what it's made of.
Yes.
Because that's the issue with sex, not in marriage. Sex is necessary and vital in marriage, but that's just and those who are not Christians and don't subscribe to our beliefs, they will also say it's vital in relationship. I guess I understand, and I somewhat agree. But when outside of marriage, outside of marriage is not godly, and so we don't encourage that. In any case, the thing is, people make that sexual interaction such a vital part of the relationship that when that is stripped away, there's nothing left.
Yes.
Because
they feel that a lot, and other
that's right.
important areas don't
because
thrive.
Being a good lover doesn't necessarily mean that they're good for you.
Yes, we said that last time.
We said that last week. The person can be able to sexually please you, but cannot do as a long term.
Intellectually
and there are people in relationships. They're not really relationships. They're sex fulfillers. What's the word? It is just meant to meet their needs physically, but there's nothing else behind of it. Yes? And so COVID has put that pressure on us.
And so this thing, the pandemic will definitely test it. And I think the important thing, Cindy and others, is to ensure that you do not fail the test. And here's what.
Let me stop you. Maybe failing is necessary.
That's what I was actually going to say.
Because maybe it wasn't worth it.
I wasn't going to call it failing. I was going to say, maybe if the relationship ends, it may not necessarily be a failure, but it would be you seeing really the substance of that relationship. And so you don't want to put too much pressure on yourself, too much unnecessary pressure on the person, on the relationship, to try to hold on to what's probably what is not even there. Sorry, but you want to ensure that you allow you to see yourself, allow you to see yourself and see the person and see the relationship during this difficult time.
Yeah.
Again, it's like muddy puddles. This is a stormy time internationally. Things are happening, things we have no control over. What we have control over is what we do with this muddy puddle.
Right, so you just have to use what you have.
Use what you have.
So you're dating, you might have to become more creative.
Yes.
In dating. You can't go to Pastor Gallery and sit down for 2 hours.
You can't go to the movies.
You can't go to the movies.
And please don't have any party.
And please no such a parties. No, what they call the place where they almost lock up the people them there.
I don't remember that one there.
The mostly white people, but I guess high-colored people, the rich people back.
I don't remember.
And Gary said you can't lock them up.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yes.
Don't go to any. We understand people still having Thanksgiving and so forth, and still have. So when everything is stripped away, you have to become creative.
And here's one.
How do you become more creative? Give them some ideas.
I think one of the things you can do in this time, especially that's it. One of the things you can actually do is begin to set some goals for the relationship. Okay, we're not together physically. We're in 2 different areas. We can't see each other. We're depending upon this media here that we're using here, this medium. And what can we do now to be creative? Let's titillate each other excite. Just listen to the whole statement. Excite each other by setting out some goals for this relationship. And you begin to do this together. You have these long, or it could be short or long, because life still continues, discussions about what do we want to see in the next, when the lockdown is lifted. And I said, boy, the first thing I do is go down Caribbean Airlines and buy that ticket. And I'll come by you. And then we want to be even caution persons about that, as we said earlier, not rushing into too much. So distance makes the heart go fonder.
So be careful. Those who have been separated from the person you love, be careful you don't drop your values and drop your standards, because boy, you have been starving to see this person for so long. And let me tell you, you have to be careful. So just manage that. Yes? Some creative ideas for married people too, because there's some people who are married who are watching and they can't do the things that they used to do. In fact, this is for us too, because when they have children, it is even harder. So I don't even think we have had a date night since our lockdown. Maybe one or two.
But definitely.
But what do we do? What do you do?
Go ahead. You want to add something else?
Organize your own movie night. Pop some popcorn. Sit down and watch the movie.
And each end, wherever you are.
Cook. Yes, you set out your own table.
A virtual dinner?
No, virtual dinner. I'm not talking about married.
Oh,
people married.
Right, yes.
Yeah. But even those who are in the same country, I think they may limit you in terms of how many can gather, but you can still gather as long as you maintain certain things. Yes. So when we were celebrating our anniversary, Billy could not go anywhere because she had, I think, was still also grieving a bit, and it was still fresh, and we didn't want to go anywhere. So I got a chef from the congregation. I did my own little thing. She didn't know a surprise. I told her dress up, and I set up inside the room, put down the music, putting on the thing, well set up the place. Maybe something like that for special occasion, a birthday or something might be helpful. You can go on walks still, yes. Especially if you have somebody to take care of the children. If you have children, if you have children, boy, you then have to do everything together. We have found going out outside. We have sheep, so we go outside and just enjoy each other's company.
I think the point that we want to make with you guys is that you don't want to allow this environment that is so stressful already to make it seem as if a relationship cannot thrive. That's not true. As a matter of fact, there's nothing even in the Word of God that supports that, because even in difficulties, there are great things that can come out of it. So whether you're in a long distance in a different location in terms of geographical location, or whether you're in country but can't see each other as much, or even just together, you're married, but you can't do but you used to do. The thing is, even though times are difficult, you can find creative ways that are built around your personality, built around the nature of your relationship, that can help your relationship thrive. Again, we want to highlight those pillars for you guys. Remember that you have to have love. Love has to drive what you're doing.
Whether it is distance, pandemic.
There has to be love in the relationship. Then you have to have that trust and commitment. And the St. Hills spoke about this so well. Just being committed and trusting the person. And I love Sister St. Hills saying that. She said, trust the process. I think she said that. Not just the person. And you have to trust the process. We're so accustomed to bam, 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 thank you, ma'am, 1, 2 microwave setting relationships that we no longer are able to wait and trust the process of building and molding relationships anymore. So be willing to trust the process and definitely have a purpose. Even if at the end the purpose is, like I said, we're just joking around, but it's very serious. Listen, when they lift this ban, I'm going to buy a ticket and we're going to have a literal date together somewhere, even if we have our masks on. There must be something that you're working towards in this long-term, long-distance relationship.
And let me tell you, if that person is worth it, if that relationship is worth it, you're going to put in the effort. You're going to wait on it. Wait on the Lord. And wait on it. Because the St. Hills waited a while. He had to go to 4 years of study.
And she went to 6.
And she went to 6. So he had to wait even longer. And then, of course, they're now together in the same place, worshiping together, living together,
and love each other the way they want.
And love each other the way they want.
But let me look at this. Let me just say this quote to be out of time here. It says, a lack of tactile closeness in the relationship. Without closeness, that's physical closeness, people can feel unloved, especially if they value contact highly. So there's some touchy-feely people like this one here. They all need to be up and close. And if you don't have that, like now because of the pandemic or just having a long-distance relationship, you can feel as if, well, I'm not sure if the person loves me anymore. So one psychologist, Spellman, says, if people can see an end to the long distance, it creates reassurance. So if we're having this distance right now that's so frustrating, because I love contact, I love touch. But if you're saying to me, sweetheart, when things get over, we're going to do this, or let's begin planning now our future. Let's decide, married, you want to get married, or as a couple, you want to go do something together. If you can put some concrete imagery there for that person or for yourself too, that can create some reassurance for yourself and for the relationship and make it more likely that it can survive.
So I want to say this. It's not, when I go over a little tonight, it's not a numerical thing.
No.
Let me say, at 5 years after get married, you have to know what you're looking for. And
older people come out in 6 months.
That's right. So if you're an older person who has been married before, if you're an older person who has had relationships before, you may not have to go through what the Centers went through.
Right, because they were younger.
They were younger.
We did 2 years.
We did 2 years, and that
so.
was tough. That was tough for me. Yeah, I don't know. It may not.
Thank you for qualifying,
yes,
guys.
it may not have been tough, you know.
It wasn't as tough, but it was. I think when we got married, besides the fear, because I'm not. Oh my gosh, I'm a wife now. It was kind of like, okay, this is now. You know, you're there. You're together. Yeah. So it was a kind of exhaling.
And we learned. And by the way, in a normal relationship, you would have learned some things about each other and being close to them.
Yeah.
When you have a overseas relationship, a distance relationship, the coming together, you're going to learn plenty of things about the person that you didn't know before, and that can bring its own challenge. Yes. So yes, distance relationships can work.
Yes.
Your relationship in this pandemic can still thrive, can survive.
Your God-ordained relationship.
Yes, God-ordained. And we believe your marriage, you could still experience intimacy and closeness and excitement even in the context of your marriage, although the pandemic puts some limitation. Yes. Well, this has been a wild and wonderful night.
This was a muddy night.
We will figure out the technology. Sorry if the reception wasn't as good as I will listen back to it and then we'll see if we can make some adjustments. Yeah. We want to say thank you again to Reverend and Dr. Sentil. Yes. From Barbados, my wife's second home. Thank you so much. Thank you for staying on, those who fought through the little technical issues. We hope that it has been helpful. Tell us if it has been helpful, and please tell us if you have other topics. Before we go out, shout out tonight where you listening from, which country, if you're in Tobago, which place, which part of the world are you? You can just drop it in there, and you can drop your suggestions and anything, insights that you might have. God bless you.
Yes.
And God bless you from wherever you are, and we pray you will be covered under the precious blood of the Lamb. Please stay safe. Please follow the instructions of your healthcare professionals.
Yes.
And let's make sure our relationships continue to not only survive, but thrive in this time.
Yep, definitely. Have a good night, guys. Even though you're physically distant, be socially and emotionally connected.
Yeah. God bless you.